So for today, as my second video talking about the light subclasses that could rival the potency of Stasis, we now have the Stasis nerfs live and fully in effect, and it looks like they've hit pretty hard. Today we're going to be talking about Arcstrider, and the interesting part about Arcstrider is that there's actually a pretty healthy amount of ways to build this class that make it pretty potent. Firstly, let's take a look at our skill trees. So we have top tree, Way of the Warrior, we have middle tree, Way of the Current, and then of course bottom tree, Way of the Wind. Way of the Warrior, as much as I love it and I think the idea is really cool, it's not very competitive. So we're going to remove that, mainly because the super is really flimsy, which the super on this class is already not the greatest. So our choice lies between middle tree and bottom tree. Both of these have some pretty interesting value. Middle tree having Tempest Strike and the block or Whirlwind Guard as the main attractive features about it, and then bottom tree just having an overall really amazing passive neutral game and a super that isn't entirely easy to kill because of its damage resistance. As much as I think there is a healthy degree of personal opinion that has to go in here, I think that bottom tree is the most beneficial overall and the most competitive. But in this video, we're going to look at a build for both of these subclasses, as I believe they both have a decently competitive option. Bottom tree Arcstrider has one of the best passive neutral games in the entire game. It gets increased sprint speed, you get more dodge cooldown from sprinting, when you're weak you get your grenade and melee back faster, and when you dodge you have damage resistance. The strongest part about this class in my opinion is the dodge, the fact that you get it back faster, and the fact that it provides you with damage resistance. So I want to really build into the dodge as much as possible. The super might not be the strongest, but just like I said in the last video with Gunslinger, we want to try and build our super as quickly as possible to put pressure on the enemy team. And this is one of the main things that we have to play against Stasis, as our cooldown's already shorter. The inherent sprint speed boost is another thing that we're going to try and synergize with, because if we can get another sprint speed boost with that, it'll boost us to the top speed of 12.5% extra sprint speed. So there's actually quite a few exotics for the hunter that let us build into this class's dodge. Wormhusk is probably one that immediately comes to a lot of people's minds, and it's a great exotic. It gives you health back, it allows you to essentially fix a minor mistake if you take damage or in your positioning, or double down with the damage resistance to pretty much make sure that you're never dying in your dodge. That being said, I feel like this exotic enhances what we have already rather than making it more abundant and frequent so we can even use it foolishly, and that's what I'm trying to build towards. So for this, I don't think I will be going with Wormhusk. Dragon Shadow is a really great exotic. Of course, this is a top exotic and a favorite right now because of its boost to handling, its ability to run the Gambler's Dodge and reload, as well as give us maximum mobility to try and get our dodge back. And staying alive after you dodge is important with this exotic to get the full benefit out of Wraith Metal Mail. So this is actually a really good pick. It synergizes even with our inherent sprint speed, because when you use it, when you use your dodge, you're gonna get that sprint speed bonus that will stack with the inherent bonus of Arcstrider. So I want to say this is actually a really great pick. Lastly, we have the 6 Coyote. This is my pick of the exotic to be using with this class, simply because we have other ways of enhancing our sprint speed to the maximum level, like through a lightweight weapon, which we will be using. The 6 Coyote allows us to have consecutive repeated damage resistance dodges, which is incredibly useful for staying alive or in shotgun fights, where we can slide, shotgun dodge, up to twice in a row even if we needed to. Unlike Dragon Shadow, it doesn't have a cost for activation being our dodge, so we're just gonna have our dodge persistently and very frequently through the entirety of the match, especially because our sprint gets our dodge back. I mentioned the dodge being the best part of this class, and in my opinion it is, but there is one other way to build this class, and that's using Shinobu's Vow and going fully all into the grenades. The Arcstrider has some fantastic grenades, and Shinobu's Vow increases the potency and potential of skip grenades by improving their tracking, and it will allow you to have 2 charges, which has a lot of synergy with the bottom tree's combat meditation. When you're weak, you get your grenades back a lot faster. This allows you to essentially spam grenades through the entire match, and for many players, this is incredibly obnoxious. If your goal is to be as much of a nuisance and the most obnoxious you can possibly be, this is probably the way to play Arcstrider for you. You'll need to add on a demolitionist weapon, tier 10 grenade cooldown, and probably bomber perks to make this really strong though. And even then, while it is very annoying, I think it does lack as high of a skill ceiling as perhaps building into the dodge, the Dragon Shadow, or 6th Coyote. So as I mentioned, for my build, I'm going to be using the 6th Coyote, although I think Dragon Shadow is an excellent choice, and if you wanted to take the alternate route of playing into the grenades of this class, you could do so with Shinobu's Vow. My build is made primarily for shotgunning, and for this and my primary weapon, I'll be using a hand cannon. For example, I'm going to use a Hawk Moon with Surplus, as I feel that synergizes with our multiple dodge cooldowns. For my shotgun, I choose the Retrofuturist. This is going to be a lightweight shotgun that'll stack with the inherent sprint speed boost of Arcstrider and give us a 12.5% sprint speed bonus when it's out and active. It also has Thresh on it for me personally, and that'll allow us to get our super faster, which is always our goal. To play fully into the dodge though and get the most out of it, and to make this class really obnoxious in its own way, we're going to be using the Dynamo mod on the helmet, as well as Distribution on our class item. When we combine that with multiple dodge charges that we'll be getting very frequently through sprinting, we can actually build super disgustingly quickly. I've used this build in the past and I've been able to get supers within 1 round of trials, even at only 6 intellect. For this build, I'm going to be using 8 intellect for a 4-minute cooldown, and then on top of it have the Dynamo and Distribution ready, which means we should be getting our super incredibly quickly. What I measured is you're able to get about 1/4 of your super by dodging twice near someone and securing a Thresh shotgun kill. The fact that you can do that all just for 1 kill and gain that much is pretty absurd to me. Not to mention in stalemates and trials where people refuse to push you or are third-personing, Dynamo and Distribution, yep, it works around walls, so you can just go close to them on the radar and start dodging repeatedly. And when you don't have your dodge charges, you sprint into a wall, regain them, and dodge again. And you'll probably get your super faster than you should be able to. And while Arcstrider might not be the greatest super, it's definitely better now with the Stasis nerfs. And again, getting a super within just a couple rounds and very quickly or first still puts pressure on the enemy team. And the biggest thing about this is we aren't taking away from our neutral game in the slightest to get to that end goal of our super very frequently. Our neutral game is stronger than ever, being able to use multiple dodges to stay alive, or in shotgun fights, it's enhancing our ability to shotgun and play aggressively while still giving us a stupid amount of super energy, which I think is what makes this build really strong and in my opinion the best for Arcstrider. For my stat distribution, I was able to get 8 mobility, which with my lightweight shotgun out becomes 10 for the fastest dodge cooldown possible, 5 resilience, 9 recovery, the lowest you want to go to, 4 discipline, so a little light on the discipline. Even though Arcstrider has great grenades, it's still okay because we're playing for our dodge mainly, and then 8 intellect to get to our super absurdly quickly, and lastly 5 strength. On my helmet, I use a single hand cannon targeting, but again, this is going to change based on the weapon you're using, as long as you make sure you're using the Dynamo perk. Technically speaking, if you wanted to, you can also just stack 2 Dynamo perks and enjoy if you'd like that much super energy. On my arms, I use Impact Induction and Fastball. On my chest piece, I go double unflinching, as that's very important for 35% flinch reduction. On my boots, Shotgun Scavenger and Powerful Friends, and on my cloak, Radiant Light as well as Distribution. I mentioned I would talk about the middle tree Arcstrider way of the current build, and I don't think that this class has any crazy inherent synergy, so taking a good generic exotic is probably your best option. Something like Stompies or Dragon Shadow, or perhaps even Frosties, is probably the way to go for this to boost its neutral game. Most people play this class for the block and Raiju's Harness. That being said, a lot of people typically don't keep Raiju's Harness on, and they usually swap to it once they have their super. I don't personally advocate for this, nor do I do it myself, so that's why I typically don't recommend this, but if you like that and you see value in it, I recommend really building into as high intellect as you can as possible, and then going for Raiju's Harness with this. In the neutral game though, use a generic exotic. I strongly recommend Frosties and Dragon Shadow to be the best 2 for this class. Anyways, hope this video was enjoyable about making an Arcstrider build that could rival Stasis. And of course I meant Stasis before its nerf, because now it's like not that great. Anyways, take it easy guys, take care.